This video is brought to you by Against the Flow of Mississippi. Against the Flow of Mississippi is a book about Jake Fayard, a Marine veteran who is unhappy with the political machine running the state of Mississippi. He decides to fight the corruption from the inside. Jake will face more challenges than he ever has and will stand up for what he thinks is right. His notoriously hot temper will push him to the edge of murder, along with his friend and brother Kobe Barhanovich. Together, they will fight the system and give the power back to the citizens of Mississippi.
Against the Flow of Mississippi was written by Anthony Oksenholt and was published by Oksenholt Biloxi Publishing, LLC. A link to the book will be placed in the description below.
Yeah, this a revolution in our time. Everybody's fighting, change coming, yes. That's why it's an acronym for riot. Everybody has a voice. Don't you dare stay silent. If you say nothing, you are an accessory to violence.
They've had their say. Seems like they've had that kind of say around here for too long. Look, I had to stand up for myself alone. I went in there to remind them that somewhere in this world there's still a little law and order left. To let them know in the only kind of terms that their kind understand is that they can't bribe or threaten their way out of what they did. To let them do this to me and get away with it, and you give them the eternal right to do the same damn thing to any one of you.
Access 228, your host, Anthony Oksenholt, where we report the facts and we are not for sale. If you have a news story or something that's on your mind, please feel free to give us a call at 228-337-2099. Be glad to have you on. Thank you for listening, and we do appreciate all that you do to support us and keep free and independent journalism doing what we do best.
What the f?
Now you heard those shots, 3 shots fired in a crash, and then witnesses running to help. The woman who was shot died. Federal authorities say that driver was trying to run over an ICE agent. We're bringing you live team coverage.
And I have a message for ICE. To ICE, get the fuck out of Minneapolis.
Okay. I've got to do a retraction. So, damn. I uploaded a video just a few hours ago. Then I laid down, I went to sleep, and I woke up. When I woke up, I still had this incident on my mind. My mind does that shit sometimes. So, I want to admit to y'all, I did something foolish. I didn't watch the full press conference before I put the damn thing on. Otherwise, I might have fucking learned something. I just kind of went off half-cocked. And in doing that, I must admit, I missed quite a few key points. And the truth, from what I missed, makes this much fucking more egregious and completely fucking worse than what I originally said. And I want to clear up quite a few things, and I want to put this from a use of force, law enforcement perspective. I'm going to apply 100% of my objective reasonableness and my training to this video. I'm going to try to keep my emotions out of this as best I can. Here are the facts as I know them. This is a white woman, an American citizen, non-Hispanic, that is driving this SUV. Looks like an Armada. I'm assuming it's an Armada. I don't know. I don't know shit about foreign cars, but it looks like an Armada. She is blocking the street because she does not want ICE coming down there fucking with people. That's what we're looking at here. Let's go with it. All right. She tries to drive away. All right. This is one angle.
What the
Now you heard those shots, 3 shots fired and a crash. And
I'm going to see if I can find another angle now. All right. This is a different angle. Let's look at it again.
With the driver blocking the street, the driver is gesturing at ICE officers, and they start to approach her SUV. One agent goes to the driver's side door. You'll see him in a minute. He tries to open.
That's attempted carjacking. Backs up. Let's look at it slowly.
Open the door while another officer steps in front of the vehicle. She then starts to take off, appearing.
This is what we call officer created jeopardy. He was at the front. He was at the front passenger side, or front driver's side of her car. He was disengaging. He backed away. Meanwhile, another agent was still trying to pull her out of the car. And he discharged 1 round there.
To turn, and then shots were fired. Take a listen.
And then 2 more rounds in rapid succession through the driver's side window, looks like. She was trying to get away from these people. She wasn't trying to run anybody over.
Yep, right there. She then continues to drive and she crashes seconds later. The incident is also shown from another angle. You can see the ICE officer in front of the SUV here in this video as that car
who put himself
and
there.
the agent then, of course, then opens fire. That woman killed was identified by the Minnesota Star Tribune as Renee Nicole Good. The newspaper spoke with a woman who identified herself as Good's mother. The woman called Good, quote, one of the kindest people I've ever known. Now, another cell phone video shows the chaos that unfolded after the incident. Agents deploying tear gas to disperse crowds who were seen throwing snow.
That was excessive force. He just blasted that guy in the face with an MK9. I could show y'all another video. I'm actually going to put this in here. I'm going to put the other video of a correctional officer shooting somebody in the face with an MK9 at that range, which can blind somebody. That CO went to fucking jail.
At agents, DHS officers are defending the agent, saying the driver weaponized her vehicle by accelerating and the officer feared for his life. But the mayor of Minneapolis saying that it was the agent's fault. Take a listen.
It was an act of domestic terrorism. A woman attacked them and those surrounding them and attempted to run them over and ram them with her vehicle. An officer of ours acted quickly and defensively shot to protect himself and the people around him.
They are already trying to spin this as an action of self-defense.
Okay. He stuck himself in jeopardy to put him in a position to take her fucking life. That's all that was. Okay. For context, I used to work at this prison. This is Everglades Correctional Institution. This is Foxtrot Dorm. Foxtrot Dorm is confinement. This looks like it's outside of Quad 1, judging by the angle of the officer station and everything. This is the camera inside the quad. Let's watch what happens to Colonel Riggins, former Colonel Riggins of the Florida Department of Corrections. Colonel, by the way, is the highest ranking uniformed correctional officer on the compound, by the way. Let's watch what happens here. Walks by. He shoots a convict in the face, just about point blank with an MK9. Here we go again. Walking by, inmate tries to stand up. He blasts him in the face with an MK9 full of OC spray. That got Colonel Riggins charged with a felony. He lost his job, he lost his pension, he lost his benefits, and he was charged by the Miami-Dade County State's Attorney with a felony. So, we have ICE agents on the street spraying people with MK9s full of OC, possibly CS. If they're using Fox, it could be both. They kind of mix them together. God forbid it's copper Fox. That shit's bad. I've been hit with it. But a correctional officer, who I've just showed, could not do it. Let me explain to y'all use of force policy. Again, as I said in the other video, I am a violence professional. I have used violence in a professional setting. In the private sector and in the public sector, I have used violence. Private sector, bail enforcement. Public sector, corrections. I have absolutely put my hands on people. I have absolutely used chemical agents, OC spray. I have absolutely used a firearm in a show of force. Granted, that show of force could have turned into a deadly use of force really quick, depending on the person's next move. If you didn't see the other video, I'm going to break this down for you, what I said. It's a musketeer mentality. If we're fighting, we're all fighting. If we're not all fighting, we got a problem. That dude that walked out in front of that SUV, that ICE agent, drew his weapon. If it was a legitimate deadly force situation, I guarantee you every other ICE agent would have had their weapons out. And it would have been what Grady Judd said. We shot 68 times because we only had 68 bullets. There was only 3 rounds discharged from one agent, which tells me, and looked to me like there was only one gun out. Again, y'all look at the video and tell me if my eyes are deceiving me, but I only saw one agent with a gun out. I saw another agent try to enter the vehicle, and I saw her try to escape. I stand on what I said in the previous video, that this agent woke up ready to kill somebody. He woke up, got a shower, combed his hair, brushed his teeth, scratched his ass, put his uniform on, put his fucking duty shit on, went out there, went to his briefing, and in his head, I'm going to kill somebody. That's exactly what was going through his mind. I stand by that. I said it before. I'll say it again. Where he went to the academy at, there's one or two places he could have gone, Fletzy or Glencoe. Either one. Um, Either one of them, he was trained very well. I know the level of training that they give federal agents at those facilities. He's probably discharged more rounds in a week of training at that facility than most of us will discharge in our lifetime, no matter how often we go to the range. I know the standard used to be they shoot like 15,000 rounds a week. I got a buddy of mine that went through Fletzy that said that they shot so much up there that every night after he had to shoot, he had to go give his hands an ice bath because they hurt so fucking bad. That tells me that he's got muscle memory. That tells me that he knew exactly what he was doing. And that tells me that those 3 well-placed shots were aimed to fucking kill. Let me say it again. They were meant to kill. He woke up ready to kill her. Or anybody. She just happened to be the one that got it. And I stand by that. I really, going back to the press conference, I don't know why they turned it over to the FBI. I really don't know why the investigators turned that investigation over to the FBI. It shouldn't have gone there. There's no federal fucking statute on murder. Maybe on excessive force and civil rights violations, I could see. But if that's not a clear-cut case for a fucking state's charge of murder, first-degree murder, then I don't know what is. All he had to do was get out of the way of the car. And he would not have been in danger. He put himself in the position to use lethal force. All he literally had to do was take about 2-3 steps back and he would have been in no danger at all. The woman was leaving. They didn't like that she was blocking the street. Did she have a right to block the street? I don't like blocking streets. I would say no. If she would have been arrested for blocking the street, would she have gotten the death penalty? Absolutely not. Y'all want to know the bad thing that I didn't mention in the other video, but I'm going to mention now? That agent is immune from civil prosecution. That agent will not be sued. The agency will not be sued. The government will not be sued. Some federal judge, and even if it gets to the Supreme Court, it's going to get turned over. It's going to get rejected. The Supreme Court's not going to hear it. I don't know what district Minnesota's in. I think they're in the 10th. I could be wrong. I'll look that up. Okay, Minnesota's in the 8th. Sorry. I know Mississippi's in the 5th. I know Florida and Georgia's in the 11th. I know California and the Pacific is on the 9th. Beyond that, I don't know. But I had to look that up. Minnesota's in the 8th. Based out of St. Louis, I'm not sure who the judges are, but I would venture to say that it's probably a pretty safe assumption that at the district court level, they'll probably side with ICE and say qualified immunity and Bivens. And if you think for a second that we're going to get the right to sue the federal government under Section 1983 under Trump, good fucking luck. That ain't going to happen. That's not going to fucking happen. It is my personal opinion that the federal government enjoys far too many immunities. And it's a goddamn sad day, sad fucking world we live in. This woman died for nothing. And the bad part is now her entire family just became targets of the federal government. And if you think I'm bullshitting, watch. Because our federal government is ran by a bunch of narcissistic motherfuckers that we allow. Let me tell y'all something. I'm done asking nicely. Call your congressmen, call your senators, demand accountability. If they don't want to give you accountability, guess what? This is a midterm election. Primary them, run against them. Get your friends to run against them. Find somebody who loves the Constitution as much as I do to fucking run. If they don't want to fucking step up and do the right thing, bring them home and fucking put somebody in there who will. That's what it's going to take. When we amend the law to hold federal fucking employees, motherfuckers that work for us, we hold them accountable criminally and civilly, that's what it's going to fucking take. Y'all, I've stuck a lot of bad people in cages. That very building that you saw where that CO sprayed somebody, I have stuck people in those cells. And a lot of them deserve to be there. I never once had a desire to stick somebody in a cell because they were born in the wrong fucking country. This is nothing short of a fucking travesty and an outrage. Y'all have a good day. Anthony Oksenholt, Access 228.
Right now, and we collectively are going to do everything possible to get to the bottom of this, to get justice, and to make sure that there is an investigation that is conducted in full. But what we do know is that a 37-year-old woman is dead and that she was shot by ICE. We've dreaded this moment since the early stages of this ICE presence in Minneapolis. Not only is this a concern that we've had internally, we've been talking about it. They are not here to cause safety in this city. What they are doing is not to provide safety in America. What they are doing is causing chaos and distrust. They're ripping families apart. They're sowing chaos on our streets. And in this case, quite literally killing people. So they are already trying to spin this as an action of self-defense. Having seen the video of myself, I want to tell everybody directly, that is bullshit. This was an agent recklessly using power that resulted in somebody dying, getting killed. As soon as it happened and we learned of the incident, we had several priorities. The first, of course, was to get the victim to the hospital and to get care as soon as possible. To the family, I'm so deeply sorry. There's nothing that I can say right now that's going to make you or your relatives or the friends of the victim feel any better. There were, I believe, 2 Minneapolis police officers that responded and were in the ambulance on the way to the hospital. The second was to get ICE off of the scene. There were dozens, if not hundreds, of ICE and federal officers that were there at the time. Having them there was only causing more chaos. Having them there was only making a difficult situation even more problematic, and one that, yes, they created themselves. There's little I can say, again, that'll make this situation better, but I do have a message for our community, for our city, and I have a message for ICE. To ICE, get the fuck out of Minneapolis. We do not want you here. Your stated reason for being in this city is to create some kind of safety, and you are doing exactly the opposite. People are being hurt. Families are being ripped apart. Long-term Minneapolis residents that have contributed so greatly to our city, to our culture, to our economy are being terrorized, and now somebody is dead. That's on you. And it's also on you to leave. It's on you to make sure that further damage, further loss of life and injury is not done. We're going to be working towards justice as quickly as we possibly can right now, and justice is what we've all got to get. Next, a message to our community. Look, we all know that the agenda of this Trump administration is to create chaos. Let us respond right now with our best versions of self. This is a moment where all of us in Minneapolis and beyond, we can rise to the occasion. We can show them who we are. We can show them the kind of courage, bravery, love, and compassion that makes Minneapolis, Minneapolis, and that makes America, America. We are better than a bunch of ICE agents being deployed to cities around the country and ripping apart families and communities. We're better than that. And so we are going to meet that hate with love. We are going to meet that despair with hope. We are going to meet that injustice with constitutional justice ourselves. And we're going to make sure that in this very difficult moment, we do not take the bait that these ICE agents are trying to create and that the federal government, to be clear, wants. They want us to respond in a way that creates a military occupation in our city. They want an excuse to come in and show the kind of force that will create more chaos and more despair. Let's not let them. Let's rise to this occasion. Let's show them something far more beautiful than the kind of division that they're trying to stoke. Let's show them unity of purpose, of love, and the courage of our conviction. Our conviction, to be clear, is rock solid, and it is for our neighbors, all of our neighbors. It's for people who have lived here for 80 years. It is for new immigrants who have made this city a better place. That's the kind of love that we're going to show up with right now. If you're angry, I get it. I am too. If you're feeling that kind of despair, it's understandable. Let's show them who we can be. Let's show up with peace. To march, to protest, to hug one another, to love all the way with peace. Do not give them what they want. Finally, you know, we've got a lot of work that needs to happen right now to make sure that, first, of course, the scene was secured as much as possible, that we were able to get the victim, now deceased, to the hospital. We've got a lot of work to do in the coming days. I want to thank our city enterprise for the work that they have done, but more importantly, what they're about to do, because this is going to be heavy and our city has been through a lot. We also know that we're prepared to do right for people. Among them is our chief of police. I'll invite him up.
My name is Brian O'Hara, B-R-I-A-N-O''H-A-R-A. I am the Minneapolis Police Chief. This morning, Minneapolis police officers received a report of federal law enforcement being involved in a deadly force incident, meaning shots had been fired. Minneapolis police officers responded to the scene. We arrived and found a woman with a gunshot wound to the head. Life-saving measures were performed at the scene, including CPR. The woman was transported to Hennepin County Medical Center, where she has since been pronounced deceased. The preliminary information that we have indicates that this woman was in her vehicle and was blocking the roadway on Portland Avenue, midway between 33rd Street and 34th Street in the city. At some point, a federal law enforcement officer approached her on foot, and the vehicle began to drive off. At least 2 shots were fired. The vehicle then crashed on the side of the roadway. Minneapolis police officers secured the crime scene and assisted in trying to preserve the evidence that is there. We have since turned over the scene both to the Federal Bureau of Investigation as well as the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, which will be conducting an investigation into this use of deadly force. I want to thank the mayor, city council president, other members of the city council, state legislators that were on the scene. This has been a very difficult time for everyone in the city. And this is obviously a very, very tragic situation where a woman has lost her life. That being said, in addition to this tragedy, which unfortunately we did predict, we were seriously concerned about further escalation from the scene. And I want to thank the elected officials that came themselves to help us prevent that from happening, as well as the individuals on that scene that remained peaceful and that abided by law enforcement instructions so that we could preserve that scene and ensure that a full and transparent investigation can take place. That being said, I just echo the mayor's comments that we ask that the community continue to call for peace. We understand people are going to be upset about what happened, and people are going to want to exercise their First Amendment rights. But please do so safely and lawfully to ensure that we do not have any further tragedy in this city or destruction. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Sheriff. Thank you, council members. Commissioner, I'll open it to questions.
Any idea on the identity of the ICE officer who fired those shots at this point?
I don't have that information, no. The question was, is there an identity of the ICE officer that fired? I do not have that.
We're hearing the ICE officer stopped a position from helping the lady who was shot. Is that true? We've seen videos all over social media that someone tried to help this lady, and they were told, they were pointing guns at and told to get away. Do you know about that at all?
So the question was, there's information out there that people tried to help the woman that was shot, and ICE officers then pointed guns at them and told them to leave. I do not have that information. I myself saw a video of the shots being fired as the car was driving away. What I can tell you is the narrative that this was just done in self-defense is a garbage narrative. That is not true. It has no truth. And it needs to be stated very clearly, since we have already seen a video of it. I do not know as to what you're talking about.
So, Mayor, she wasn't driving.
Over here.
She wasn't driving the car toward him, using her vehicle as a weapon.
That does not appear to be the case at all.
What's the city's protocol when an observer or an activist calls 911? They say an agent's phone or an agent's pointing a gun at them. How does the city of Minneapolis handle that situation? Go for it, consider it.
Repeat it one more time. I missed the first part of what you said. And I'll turn it over to the chief. Yeah.
What does the city do when someone calls 911 and a federal agent's
Oh, I see. Yeah.
That sort of thing?
I'll turn it over to the chief. The question is, what does someone do when a federal agent is pointing a gun at them? Chief.
So, if I heard you correctly, the question is about when people call 911, what is the city's protocol in these situations? We've had a very dramatic increase in 911 calls related to this activity. We have a protocol in place that has been evolving as the situation has been changing. And at this time, there is a designated supervisor that is on duty 24/7 that fields those calls. And we do everything that we can to ensure that they are appropriately prioritized, with the priority being placed upon the protection of life and safety of everyone in the community.
Can you tell us any more about the woman who was fatally shot? Was she there as a legal observer, protester, bystander? What do you know that you can share?
So the question was, what can I share about the deceased? There is nothing to indicate that this woman was the target of any law enforcement investigation or activity. This woman was in her car, and it appears then blocking the street because of the presence of federal law enforcement, which is obviously something that has been happening not just in Minneapolis, but around the country. She appears to be a middle-aged white woman.
Chief, just about a month ago, you said these unplanned and questionable tactics by federal agents would result in someone being killed at a press conference right here. Do you consider today's tactics in line with that, or do you just have a generic response to the fact that somebody is now dead?
The question is that I had previously made several statements about being concerned about the tactics being employed. I am obviously very concerned that I have been told that a woman who was sitting in her car blocking the street and not the target of any enforcement activity is now deceased. However, I do not know, to be clear, I do not know the exact circumstances of the shooting, but I would tell you, in any professional law enforcement agency in the country, I think they would tell you it's obviously very concerning whenever there's a shooting into a vehicle of someone who's not armed. But it also is something that is possible. At times, it is justified. But it is very concerning, and it's something that most law enforcement agencies in the country train very intensely to try and minimize the risk that law enforcement officers get placed into a situation that the need for deadly force would be necessary.
Has there been any indication of that need in this case?
I didn't hear the question, I'm sorry.
Has there been any indication of the need to shoot into the vehicle?
The question was any indication about the need. I guess getting back to the justification of this, I have not seen any information other than what I have communicated.
Was she alone in the car? Were there children in the car with her?
The question was if she was alone in the car. I know that I got there shortly after this call came in. I did not see anyone else with her while I was on the scene. However, I've since been told by our officers that have been with her the entire time that a spouse has arrived at the hospital.
Mayor, just curious if you're thinking about contacting federal authorities to register your concerns about this, personally making phone calls, et cetera.
Yes, we've been on the phone all morning. As soon as we learned about this, again, there were a series of priorities that we needed to go through. The first, of course, is to keep people safe and to help the victim in any way that we could. The second was to get ICE off of the scene. There was the notion that ICE agents would be necessary to create a perimeter around the scene itself. They themselves were creating the kind of dysfunction and chaos that they claimed to be trying to help with. And so the message that we delivered very clearly was to make them leave. Now, beyond leaving the scene, they should also leave our city and our state. You know, we do work, our chief does work, our sheriff does work every single day to keep people safe in our city and in our state. And crime is dramatically down. Crime is down. It continues to trend down. They are doing the hard work of investigating, of arresting perpetrators of violent crime. What this federal administration is doing right now is not about creating safety. Do not let them tell you that what they are doing is about creating safety. It is not. It is having the opposite impact. We need to be clear-eyed about the work that is moving forward, and they need to leave Minneapolis.
We have time for one or two more questions.
Mayor, you may know this with your legal background. If a shooting is found to not be justified, does the city have any legal, or the state rather, have any legal recourse to bring charges against this ICE agent, given that this person is a federal agent, if the feds don't?
So, obviously, and I have to always lead with this caveat, because it is true, an investigation still does need to be conducted. I had my perception of what took place based on the vehicle and the vehicle's positioning. It does not appear that the individual is trying to ram anybody. Now, the question was, if it is in fact found to be an unjustified shooting, who issues the charge, who prosecutes, how does justice take place? I don't know the answer in full to that. This is obviously information that we're still working out. Chief, do you have any additional information, or Commissioner? Yeah.
The only thing I would add to the mayor's statement is that the crime scene was held by the Minneapolis Police Department, and the investigation is now being led jointly by the Federal Bureau of Investigation as well as the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension. And the purpose of their involvement would be to investigate whether any state laws within the state of Minnesota have been violated.
One more
Can I just add something to that, too? What's very important is that for our communities that we do have some kind of part in this investigation. It needs to be done on a local level. With all due respect to the federal level, we do need to make sure that our local agencies are involved. Most certainly the BCA is very well capable of working with our federal partners in doing so. That is something that is needed for our communities, and so that's something that I can tell you that there's already been conversations from the U.S. Attorney's Office to the BCA that have already taken place today. How that's going to roll out, we don't know yet, but we are making sure that there is some kind of local entity, namely the BCA, that has a part in this investigation for the purposes of transparency and expedient transparency as to what happened today.
One more.
Sorry.
If that's it. Thank you, everybody.
Again, thank you everybody for coming. Thank you to the media for being here and disseminating this very important information around this tragic incident. To reiterate a final message to our community members, I understand the anger. Let's unite around hope and love and peace and getting justice. That's what we need to be doing right now. I appreciate the service from everybody up here as well as the 435,000 people that call Minneapolis home. Thank you.
Got some housekeeping.
All right, that was the end of a press conference, a joint press conference with city leaders, Mayor Jacob Frey, Police Chief Brian O'Hara, Hennepin County Sheriff DeWanna Witt as well, speaking out on this incident this morning.
Right. What we have learned is a 37-year-old woman was shot by ICE. She had a gunshot wound to the head. We understand that her spouse is now at the hospital there.
Yes.
Nothing to indicate, according to law enforcement, according to the police chief, that she was the target of any law enforcement activity. We have heard from people on the scene. They believe she was a legal observer there. What we heard from Police Chief O'Hara, because we are getting conflicting reports about what happened prior to the shooting, he says that she was in a car blocking Portland between 34th and 35th because of the presence of ICE agents. They said the law enforcement officer, the ICE agent, approached her on foot and the vehicle began to drive off. 2 shots were fired. Then the car crashed. He says he doesn't know the details of the shooting, but he did give that information out there. This is now all being turned over to the FBI and to the BCA.